and I only am escaped to tell thee. It was with them constantly, the black patch directly overhead from whence proceeded the lightnings, the near-blinding downpour, the explosions like artillery fire. Van Berchem staggered as the ship shifted again, almost dropping the carton he carried. The winds howled about him, tearing at his soaked garments. The water splashed and swirled around his ankles, retreating, returning, retreating. High waves crashed constantly against the ship. The eerie green light of St. Elmo's fire danced along the spars. Above the wind and over even the thunder, he heard the sudden shriek of a fellow seaman, random object of attention from one of their drifting demonic tormentors. Trapped high in the rigging was a dead man, flensed of all flesh by the elements, his bony frame infected now by the moving green glow, right arm flapping as if waving or beckoning. Van Berchem crossed the deck to the new cargo site, began lashing his carton into place. How many times had they shifted these cartons, crates and barrels about? He had lost count long ago. It seemed that every time the job was done, a new move was immediately ordered. He looked out over the railing. Whenever he was near, whenever the opportunity presented itself, he scanned the distant horizon, dim through the curtain of rain, and he hoped. In this he was different. Unlike any of the others, he had a hope, albeit a small one, for he had a plan. A mighty peal of laughter shook the ship. Van Berchem shuddered. The captain stayed in his cabin almost constantly now with a keg of rum. It was said that he was playing cards with the devil. It sounded as if the devil had just won another hand. Pretending to inspect the cargo's fastenings, Van Berchem located his barrel again, mixed in with all the others. He could tell it by the small dab of blue paint. Unlike the others, it was empty, and corked on the inside. Turning, he made his way across the deck again. Something huge and bat-winged flitted past him. He hunched his shoulders and hurried. 4 more loads, and each time a quick look into the distance. Then he saw it. There was a ship off the port bow. He looked about frantically. There was no one near him. This was it. If he hurried, if he was not seen. He approached his barrel, undid the fastenings, looked about again. Still no one nearby. The other vessel definitely appeared to be approaching. There was neither time nor means to calculate courses, judge winds or currents. There was only the gamble and the hope. He took the former and held to the latter as he rolled the barrel to the railing, raised it, and cast it overboard. A moment later he followed it. The water was icy, turbulent, dark. He was sucked downward. Frantically he clawed at it, striving to drag himself to the surface. Finally there was a glimpse of light. He was buffeted by waves, tossed about, submerged a dozen times. Each time he fought his way back to the top. He was on the verge of giving up when the sea suddenly grew calm. The sounds of the storm softened. The day began to grow brighter about him. Treading water, he saw the vessel he had just quitted receding in the distance, carrying its private hell along with it. And there, off to his left, bobbed the barrel with the blue marking. He struck out after it. When he finally reached it, he caught hold. He was able to draw himself partly out of the water. He clung there and panted. He shivered. Although the sea was calmer here, it was still very cold. When some of his strength returned, he raised his head, scanned the horizon. There! The vessel he had sighted was even nearer now. He raised an arm and waved it. He tore off his shirt and held it high, rippling in the wind like a banner. He did this until his arm grew numb. When he looked again, the ship was nearer still, though there was no indication that he had been sighted. From what appeared to be their relative movements, it seemed that he might well drift past it in a matter of minutes. He transferred the shirt to his other hand, began waving it again. When next he looked, he saw that the vessel was changing course, coming toward him. Had he been stronger and less emotionally drained, he might have wept. As it was, he became almost immediately aware of a mighty fatigue and a great coldness. His eyes stung from the salt, yet they wanted to close. He had to keep looking at his numbed hands to be certain that they maintained their hold upon the barrel. "Hurry," he breathed. "Hurry." He was barely conscious when they took him into the lifeboat and wrapped him in blankets. By the time they came alongside the ship, he was asleep. He slept the rest of that day and all that night, awakening only long enough to sip hot grog and broth. When he did try to speak, he was not understood. It was not until the following afternoon that they brought in a seaman who spoke Dutch. He told the man his entire story, from the time he had signed aboard until the time he had jumped into the sea. "Incredible," the seaman observed, pausing after a long spell of translation for the officers. "Then that storm-tossed apparition we saw yesterday was really the Flying Dutchman. There truly is such a thing, and you are the only man to have escaped from it." Van Berchem smiled weakly, drained his mug, and set it aside, hands still shaking. The seaman clapped him on the shoulder. "Rest easy now, my friend. You are safe at last," he said, "free of the demon ship. You are aboard a vessel with a fine safety record and excellent officers and crew, and just a few days away from her port. Recover your strength and rid your mind of past afflictions. We welcome you aboard the Marie Celeste."